Alright, shut up and sit your ass down. Today I am once again addressing the continued hate on Marathon, since there are still, not pointing fingers, but you know who you are, roaches that spew toxic waste on this Marathon hate train. Let's get right into it. On May 23rd, 2023, the world got its first look at Bungie's upcoming sci-fi shooter, Marathon. There was an insane amount of hype and positive comments, however, there were also negative comments, but to a lesser degree. Ultimately, viewers believed that this was going to be another certified classic because it is using the Marathon IP and is being developed by Bungie. At the same time, Destiny 2, the final shape expansion, was also showcased. We'll talk about that later in the video. Unfortunately, once the honeymoon phase has passed, reality kicks in. Since the announcement on October 30th, 2023, Bungie Studios suffered a heartbreaking developer layoff of around 100 employees that would lead to a delay for Marathon's release to 2025 and the final shape expansion to June 4th, 2024, 3 months later than its initial release date on February 28th, 2024. Many believe that these layoffs will impact the delivery of both Marathon and the final shape's quality, which at the time, Bungie's latest game development, Destiny 2's Lightfall expansion, was not a great hit. Morale was low, surely that would be it, right? There was a second layoff. After the second layoff, on July 31st, 2024, which laid off 222 employees, Bungie fans, more specifically, Destiny 2 players, were at an all-time low. So that's the brief history of the recent activities at Bungie Studios. Here's a brief history for the development of Marathon. Former game director for Marathon, Christopher Barrett, was let go in April 2024 due to controversial allegations and was replaced with current game director Joe Ziegler. Ziegler was a former Valorant game director who joined Bungie in December 2022 and became Marathon's game director around June 2023. His work while at Riot Games was having the initial idea for Valorant and leading the game's direction through production, launch, and post-launch updates. Ziegler has since picked up where Marathon left off, reinventing the Marathon vision and helped develop the game for the past 9 months. A quick history on Barrett's work at Bungie was his work on art for Halo Combat Evolved and was environmental art lead for Halo 2, 3, and Reach. In 2013, he became the art director for Destiny 1 and its expansions. In 2017, Luke Smith and Christopher Barrett were game directors for Destiny 2, who both helped produce the Forsaken expansion. Somewhere between 2019 and 2020, the Bungie team decided that Marathon, the good old game that we love to hate on today, right? Right, guys? Guys? Began its development. Personally, I enjoy Barrett's vision of Marathon more than I enjoy Ziegler's vision, and I strongly believe that this was a big loss of potential. Barrett's initial idea for Marathon seems to lean more towards players having the creative freedom to customize their runner via appearance, abilities, and build. This idea to build up your character fits perfectly into the extraction shooter genre, which I'm sure many share the same sentiment. I believe that if Ziegler continued to advertise the game to be more of a class-based shooter instead of, let's be real, hero shooter, I don't think Marathon would have received as much of an endless depressing response from individuals who are irreparably voided of physical contact that we see everywhere today. Now hold on, settle down, the video's not over yet, and before your chicken tender fingers start typing away and celebrating in the comments below about how Marathon is dead, I can see why Ziegler went the direction Marathon is going. Joe Ziegler understands what competitive play should be like since his prior background was Valorant, a competitive first-person tactical hero shooter. During his Valorant development, the feedback for the game was an exact mirror of what Marathon receives today on a daily basis. Statements such as this game is basically if Overwatch and CS had a kid, and how this was a game nobody wanted or asked for. Sounds familiar, right? I believe that Ziegler made the switch from, quote, class-based shooter, unquote, to hero shooter for the purpose of, yes, we all know, for monetization, but also for balancing the sandbox. I remind you that Bungie has advertised that Marathon will be primarily a PvP team-based extraction shooter that has a ranked playlist, which is one of their major marketing features. Now this would make sense considering if a player was class-based, the combination of abilities per build would be endless. Imagine a gunfight where a runner has the ability to use something like Void's invisibility and Glitch's speed boost. The sandbox balancing would be a nightmare. Instead, with hero-based, you are locked with set abilities. When you look at characters such as Bangalore, Wraith, or Caustic from Apex Legends, or even characters such as Jett, Cypher, or Sova from Valorant, players instantly know each character's utilities and in theory know how to combat against those playstyles. Love or hate him, Ziegler has successfully made a dominant 20-year-old game genre, this being CSGO, now known as CS2, appeal more to the casual audience, as well as merging two genres into one game. Side note, even the weapons in Valorant have that blocky look like Marathon does, but I digress. Furthermore, to the infants crying about how Marathon should have been a PvE story mode game, like how the Halo games were, I hate to break it to you, man, but Marathon was always advertised to be a PvP extraction shooter, whether it be under Christopher Barrett or Joe Ziegler leading the game's direction. And before you say that nobody wants an extraction shooter because it is a niche genre, oh boy, wait until you hear about art creators and the praise it's been getting, but that's for another time. And why even remaster the classic Marathon games anyway? It'll probably just get hate spammed by the Neanderthals that believe the original Bungie developers aren't there anymore, or because the layoffs will result to a shittier product. In addition, Bungie's done with that single player / story mode games. They already proved that they could succeed in that genre, and if that's not convincing enough, Halo 3 ODST would like to have a word. Bungie has always been that studio to take those daring jumps, and are fully aware of the future and direction of their products. An example would be letting go of Halo and developing Destiny. Marathon is no different. Bungie understands that there is an untapped market for the extraction shooter genre and are willing to bet that they can deliver both services for Destiny 2 and Marathon. There is a reason why Marathon is what it is right now, and I am all for it. Maybe that's why they've been making games for 3 decades while you are still crying for your pacifier. Now let's talk about the Final Shape and its development. The Final Shape is an expansion for the Destiny 2 franchise that essentially is the conclusion of their 10-year plan, starting all the way back on September 9, 2014, the release date for Destiny 1. The Final Shape was first teased on May 23, 2023, and later revealed on August 22, 2023. At the time, people were skeptical about its production and quality since the current expansion, Lightfall, was a disaster. Fast forward to October 30th, 2023, the first Bungie layoff occurred, and the public instantly knew that that was the nail to the studio's coffin. There was no hope, and more players began to abandon the franchise. Or so it seems. Bungie then clapped back and released the Destiny 2 The Final Shape developer gameplay preview on April 9th, 2024. And my god, did they fucking cooked. For the first time in Destiny's history, Bungie allowed the players to be the most lore-accurate Guardians I've ever seen. This being the ability to merge both light and darkness subclasses, while also being able to equip and utilize 2 exotic perks at the same time. Bungie basically said, oh, so you're still not hyped? Alright, bet. Reminder, the Final Shape was initially supposed to release on February 28, 2024, but was later released on June 4th, 2024. This expansion with 3 months of additional development is now considered, if not the greatest expansion in Destiny's franchise history. So where am I getting at with this? Well, Marathon, after the closed alpha, is set to release 5 months later, which is more time than what the peak era of Destiny's history was developed. This isn't Bungie's first rodeo when it comes to low morale or negative criticism. In fact, Bungie works best under pressure. I'm not too worried about Bungie's creativity. When their backs are against the wall, all ideas are a go. Quick note, here's a statement of one of the developers made during a Marathon Vidoc, which I found interesting. It's almost like everything is going as planned, for those that are worried about Marathon's development.
After this announcement, we are going to go dark for a while, for an extended period, while we focus on developing and playtesting the game.
Oh, I got one. One's down. One second.
Next time you hear from us, we're going to be much closer to release, and we will be ready to reveal gameplay.
This claim of old Bungie developers are no longer there, so their future games they produce are shit is completely untrue. I know your incompetent brains can't manage to do your own research, so I, your humble king, will share his generous wisdom upon my subjects.
Now, there's a myth that I've been waiting for 2 years to quell that you see all over the internet nowadays, and you see it parroted by people getting thousands of likes, and that's that nobody who worked on Halo at Bungie still works at the studio and is working on Marathon. And for a time, I thought that to be true, but I can confirm that that is absolutely not the case whatsoever. There are developers working on Marathon who were instrumental in the design of Halo as far back as Combat Evolved, and some who have been at Bungie for even longer than that. In fact, many of the things that Halo fans still fawn over nowadays, myself very much included, were made by developers who are now in senior roles on Marathon. Don't believe me? Well, here are just a few examples. Dan Miller, the designer of Halo 3's Warthog Run, New Alexandria, and Guardian Forest, among many other levels, is a level designer on Marathon. Steve Cotton, the designer of Zanzibar, Midship, and the creator of Forge World, is one of the project leads. Shikai Wang, the legendary concept artist who's designed Halo's aesthetic since literally Halo 1, is working on Marathon. John Goff, the writer of Headhunters, is in charge of world building. Chris Butcher, Lars Bakken, and many others that I either can't remember right now or am yet to meet are also working on the project. Of course, the team on Marathon is huge and is full of many people who of course didn't work on Halo, but this myth that nobody who worked on Halo is working on Marathon is just a complete and utter lie, and in fact is the opposite of the truth. Many people who were instrumental in designing Halo are in extremely senior roles on Marathon.
As for the complaints about the game looking like Apex at home, why is that an issue? You act like Apex Legends at launch was a bad game. Maybe it's because Apex also suffered from the "this current game died for this shit" mentality. Remember, everybody wanted Titanfall 3, not a battle royale. Fine God, man. As far as I'm aware, Apex is not the same as it once was on launch, and their developer, Respawn, has only worsened the state of the game. If anything, Marathon's gameplay should intrigue these Apex refugees to try out the game, which in turn could potentially introduce these players into the extraction shooter genre. Smart marketing if you ask me. In conclusion, I get it. The original vision for a Marathon sounds more intriguing, and logically, the game should be delayed. I hear you, but I don't agree with the grease-haired neckbeards that keep downplaying and degrading Bungie's capabilities. Bungie has time and time again made timeless classics and have been through the ringer whenever new projects and ideas are on the table. For fuck's sakes, they've been in the game development industry for 3 decades. They've lost developers and gained developers throughout the years, and still, they always deliver. I'm making another video on this continued hate on Marathon, since the hate has only been enhanced due to ARC Raiders' recent tech tests, which, first off, seriously, congrats to Embark for their incredible work on the game. There's a bright future for the studio. Moreover, when these extraction shooter haters make statements such as they'll never play the genre, but then try out ARC Raiders and then proceed to shit on Marathon without even giving it a try, it doesn't make any sense. If you don't believe me, here are some examples. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. Move on. It's like you're crying for attention like some hoes. I'm starting to recognize a pattern, and it's not just based off of Marathon. There was hate for Destiny as well. Heck, even Halo Reach. I don't think you hate Marathon. I think you hate Bungie. In the following days, discuss amongst your peers your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and please,
For the love of God, please!
try and keep it civil.